Hello and welcome to the TriathlonDan YouTube channel. Welcome to a video all about how to qualify for Kona, the Ironman World Championships held on the Big Island in Hawaii. You've got no idea how many times I had to record that clip. Yes, nailed it. So firstly, if you are new around here, please do click the subscribe button down below. I'm an amateur triathlete trying to qualify for Kona, so hopefully I'll be able to post a video at some point in the future saying I qualified for Kona. But until then, let's talk about how. So during this video, I want to hear from you. Let me know down below. Have you qualified for Kona? If so, how did you do it? Where did you do it? Did you go? Did you turn your slot down, yes or no? What are your thoughts about the Ironman World Championship? Is it too expensive? Is it too gimmicky? Would you go again if you've already been? Let me know your thoughts. Also, this process is now the same for professionals and amateurs. So Jan Frodeno, if you're watching, this one's for you. Get your pen and paper out, mate. Now, I think the first thing that's important when you think about trying to qualify for Kona is when. So when do you want to go? What year do you want to go to Kona? I would start with that and work backwards. Now, for example, if you were to want to go in 2021, you need to look at which events qualify you for that race. Different times of the year will mean you qualify for different years. Now, it's around September time that the changeover normally happens. So, for example, Ironman Wales in 2020, if it had gone ahead, would have qualified you for Kona in 2021. So you've got a year to plan for, pay for, prepare for the World Championships. Tough race, about a gazillion miles away from the UK, a lot to think about. I have been lucky enough to go to Kona. I didn't get an entry, just went as a holiday for a holiday with Liz. It was incredible, but it just opened my eyes to how much of an ordeal the travel is, the expense of it and so on, and I would not underestimate it. There are several races. Looking at next year's calendar, Ironman Chattanooga, for example, is 2 weeks before the Ironman World Championships, 2 or 3 weeks, and it qualifies you for the same year. So you've got to think, do you really want to go and do an Ironman, potentially qualify for Kona, and then have to go within 2 or 3 weeks, being fit enough to do it, being able to afford to pay for it, and logistically get there? Like, I'm not sure. It's also interesting at the minute, obviously in the current climate, Ironman have changed the wording on the website, on events. It used to say something like, Ironman Wales will offer 40 slots to the 2021 Kona Ironman World Championships. Now it just says, Ironman Wales will offer 40 slots to the Kona Ironman World Championships. It doesn't say what year. Now, this isn't a criticism of Ironman at all, because I'm pretty sure they don't know, because how do we know what events are going to go ahead and what aren't? So that's just the situation we're in. But I'm going to go through this talk as if we know that the Ironman World Champs are going to be on next year in October as normal. So firstly then, the allocation of slots. So each Ironman race will have an allocation of slots to Kona, normally between 40 and 75. The number will vary based on whether it's a championship race, based on whether it's a new event, based on whether they perhaps struggle for entries at events. Some you'll see have 40 year in, year out, and some you will see occasionally have 60 or 70. So that's worth bearing in mind. That really affects how many per age group you get. So let's say you go to a race and there's 40 slots. What happens then is that every age group will get at least 1 slot, and then the remaining slots are divvied up based on how many starters there are on the day. So it's not something you know until the event has started. Speaking very roughly, in my age group, the last couple of Ironmans I've done, there's been between 150 and 180 starters, and there's been either 2 or 3 slots at those races. So just give you some sort of perspective as to how many slots there are. And then the more popular age groups, like the 40 to 44, there's often 6 or 7 slots in those age groups because there are more starters. So you know when you want to go to Kona, you know which race you're going to go and qualify at. How do you qualify? Something a lot of people think is that you need to do a certain time. That is not the case. It's all based on position. So it doesn't matter what the finish time is for you to qualify for Kona. You've just got to finish in the first so many places depending on how many slots there are. So for example, if there are 3 slots in the female 20 to 24 age group, you will have to come in the top 3 to get an automatic slot. However, if you don't finish in the top 3, that doesn't necessarily mean you haven't qualified. We'll come on to roll down ceremony in a little while, but at this point I just want to make really clear, it's all based on finishing position. So I would really give a lot of thought to which event you'd like to go to try and qualify at. An example of that would be, if you are a strong cyclist, I would suggest pick an event with a hard bike course, because you will make more time up on those people who are weaker cyclists, therefore leading you to a higher position. Don't necessarily pick an event that you're going to have the fastest finishing time at, because everybody else will just be finishing that bit faster as well. Think about heat. Do you cope well in the heat or not? If so, if you don't, come to the UK. If you do cope well in the heat, you might want to think about, a race in Germany, Australia, America, etc. Time of year is a big factor as well. Are you particularly aero? If so, you might want to pick a flat race that's known for being quite windy. Same thing. You'll make more time up on the other people. Maybe you're a super strong runner. Pick an event with a hilly run course. You'll make more time up on those who are weaker runners, and so on. So just really, you really got to think about where your strengths lay, and therefore which event you're going to do to try and qualify. So you've picked which Kona you want to go to. You've picked the race you're going to qualify at. You've entered it. You've gone to the race. You've done as best you can. You've either finished in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or however many is needed in your automatic slots, or you haven't. What do you do next? Now, I would say anybody who wants to go to Kona, even if it's not at that event you want to qualify at, go to the roll down ceremony. The roll down ceremonies are normally held the day after the event. They're normally in a town hall or something. And that ceremony is incredible, really emotional, really like, you feel the tension in the air. What happens is they'll go through the age group prizes, they'll be like, clapping, well done, people stand on the podium and so on. And then they move on to the Kona slots. And what they'll do then is, they'll again go through for example, my age group last year, 25 to 29, first place, Joe Bloggs, you did it in 9 hours and 1 minute, well done. Would you like to take your Kona slot? And Joe Bloggs then says, yes, jumps up, screams around, goes up to the stage, gets his flower garland and bottle of beer, and then goes and takes his slot. Or Joe Bloggs says no, and then what happens is, if Joe Bloggs says no, let's say the first 3 had qualifying automatic slots, those slots then roll to the next positions. That would mean that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th had automatic slots. So if you're close to qualifying, it is absolutely worth going to the roll down. You never know if somebody is already qualified. Maybe somebody doesn't want to go. Maybe somebody can't go. Maybe somebody hasn't turned up at the roll down. Just go to the roll down. Whilst you're on, make sure you go. You have got to go. You as a competitor have got to turn up to the roll down if you want a slot. You cannot send your mum, dad, granny, uncle, friend, whoever to take the slot for you. They don't let you. I've been at Ironman UK in 2018 at the awards ceremony. Somebody said, read a prize out, I'll take it for so-and-so. And they said, no, you won't. You're not allowed to. And that person then didn't get the slot because they weren't there. How gutting must that be? Make sure you go and you take the slot. Now, I've been to 2 of these roll down ceremonies, and both times in a couple of age groups, the slots have rolled a long way. If it's, for example, the first 3 get automatic slots, one person doesn't take it. If 4th, 5th, and 6th haven't turned up, it goes at 9th, 10th, 11th, probably less likely to turn up. It just rolls further and further down. And I've seen people take Kona slots finishing 15th, 20th in their age group. I know people will have their own opinions about that, whether you should and whether you shouldn't. Feel free to comment down below. But either way, they've qualified for Kona. So if you in any way want to go to the roll down. So you picked Kona, you've done the race, you've qualified by either roll down or automatic qualification. You got to the stage, then what? Well, then you'll be glad to know you have to pay roughly £1,000 for the entry. It's not free, you don't just get invited, you do have to pay for the event, and it's roughly the cost of 2 Ironman events. I don't know whether that's because the pound is weak against the dollar or just because the event is so expensive in itself, but you've got to stump that up there and then. So you're physically fatigued and ruined from doing an Ironman, then you get a kick in the wallet straight away for the one you're doing next. But there you go. If you wanted that bad, you got to do it. I am going to do a separate video on costs of going to Kona, travel, accommodation, etc. But yeah, just a heads up, it ain't cheap. Think it through if this is a real priority of yours, because it ain't a cheap holiday. Now, what if you don't think you can qualify that way, but you still really want to go? Are there any other ways you can qualify? Well, yes, there are. Firstly, the Ironman do something called the Legacy Program. So the Legacy Program is for people who have completed 12 or more Ironman races. Yeah, you've got to do 12. There's no time limit. You can spend as many years as you like doing 12. The only stipulation is then you have to do 1 Ironman in the year that you want to go to Kona. So you do 12, you apply to the Legacy Program, then put you on a waiting list where you get a guaranteed slot, but you're on a waiting list. And the wait was, I think, between 2 and 4 years. But this year they did offer all of the Legacy Program athletes opportunity to take up their slot to clear the backlog because of the qualification races cancelled and so on. I'm not entirely sure what's happened with that since then, but yeah, the Legacy Program is one way to get in. Another way is, not very cheap, but they do open some charity slots. Now, I did watch a couple of these go. I think they sold one on eBay. They do some through like official partners, and then others they just auction off. And I watched an auction go. I had a vague, think, okay, how much do you want to do it? And I thought, okay, I put a figure in my mind of how much I would pay for an entry. It didn't even go that low as a starting bid. It sold for, I think, about $40,000. So that's a lot of money. You've got to really weigh up if you really, really want to do the World Champs. Some people will pay that and will go and do it. I'm sure it's for a great cause as well, but Ironman also sometimes do some random entries. So if you enter an Ironman race, sometimes they will say if you enter an Ironman race for the next year before January, we will put all those entrants into a draw to win an entry to the Ironman World Championships the next year. So that is always worthwhile looking. It doesn't cost you anything extra. You just enter the race as you normally would, and you stand a chance of being pulled out for the race. And then another way, I'm not sure if it's been done since, but when I went in 2018, Ventum were the bike course sponsors, and the deal was if you bought a brand new Ventum, you would get an entry to the Ironman World Championships. I think they were limited in terms of numbers, but I did vaguely look at that. I think the cheapest Ventum bike was about $5,000, and then you start weighing up, okay, buy a Ventum bike for $5,000, go to Kona, could I sell it for 3 or 4? Therefore, is it costing me what, like, that sort of thing? But that is a genuinely worthwhile looking into if those sorts of schemes do come up when bike sponsors perhaps sponsor the bike course. Worth looking at. And then another thing I saw, which I did actually enter myself, was a postcard entry. These things are really small print. You have to look on keep an eye on the Ironman website for how do I qualify, and sometimes things pop up on there. But there was a post in random ballot. So I posted in 3 postcards with a picture of me on the front. I wrote a bit on the back about how much I'd love to do it and so on. Didn't get pulled out, but it's another opportunity to try and qualify. So I think that is about it for how do you qualify. There might have been some things that I missed out. If so, feel free to drop any questions down below. If anybody's got anything to add, please do drop it down below. I wonder if now it might be worthwhile having a look at how far away or how close I am to being able to qualify for Kona. Let's have a look. Now, shout out to Coach Cox. This website I'm on here is a great resource, completely free. I think he's a British-based triathlon coach, and he basically posts up lots of information about Kona qualifying, how to qualify, where to qualify, past results. The main thing he uses is for the past results. I don't think he's able to collect the data about who took roll down slots. He only does it about like automatic slots. But I'm going to look at Ironman Wales 2019, which was my last Ironman, and see how I stacked up against those that qualified, how far away was I, what do I need to do. So I'm on here on the 2019 results, so you can see there are 40 Kona slots for the race, there are 2,000 competitors, 234 didn't start. This meant that there were 2 slots, I think they're highlighted correctly, 2 slots in the 25 to 29 age group, which was mine. Well, there might have been 3, I can't remember exactly. But I know that Andrew Horsfall-Turner, regulars to the channel will know he's recently featured on this, came 4th, so I know he got a slot. But let's have a look at what their times were. Let me just in a new tab, there we go. So, I'm not going to try and pronounce your name. Well done to you, first of all. I don't want to do the disservice of me ruining your name. So, 9 hours 44, 56 minutes swim, 5 hours 27 bike, and then a 3:09 run. That was first place. So, the last qualifier, which was Andrew Horsfall-Turner, he's done a 10:06. So let's have a look at his breakdown. Okay, so 10:06, swim time 47:03. He is a ridiculous swimmer. Bike time 5:24, run time 3:45 for a 10:06 Ironman. And that was the last position that got a slot in my age group at Ironman Wales last year. Can you bank on that as a qualifying time? No, because the automatic slots, the last one was 10 hours. So really, it needs to be 10 hours. Where was, but that varies year to year, of course. Where was TriathlonDan? Here we go. So I was 27th in my age group, some way off of the necessary criteria. 11:26:04, swim time 1 hour and 12 minutes. So I was 598th overall. Some work to do there. Bike time 5:44, 84th overall. Okay, made a bit of ground up on the bike. Run time 4:16, 399th overall. Just not good enough. So I can see there, perhaps this is the right course for me because I make so much ground up on the bike. However, I need to work on my swim and run. Or maybe it isn't the right course for me because the run is so hilly. So therefore, a weaker runner will not perform as well. Who really knows? All I do know is that I've got an entry to Ironman Wales next year. So that's what I'm going to be trying at. So I'm just going to try and train accordingly and give it my best go. So there we go. That's how to qualify for Kona. Good luck to you if you're trying to qualify. Hopefully we'll get some races going ahead and hopefully Kona will go ahead. Let me know down below if you'd like to add anything to that, if you've got any questions or any suggestions or anything. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Hope your training's going well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you tomorrow at 4 PM.